My name is Mike Blinder. Now it's official because that female voice professional voice has said that I'm recording. I am the publisher of E&P Magazine. I'm joined by two incredibly cool guys who are our sponsors today from a company called Nota. They are Josh Brandau and Evan Young. But before I bring him into the dialogue here, let me do a little housekeeping if I can. For those of you that have lived under a rock and never used this platform, you are on something now called Zoom. I'm sure you're aware of it. The challenge is with Zoom, there are many different ways below the screen to interact with us today. We're going to only pick one today, and that's chat, because we can't keep, raising your hand or Q&A. So please, the chat room is where we want you to maintain. And do me a favor, Zoom, for some reason, defaults the chat room to panelist-only status. That's not what we want to do today. We want to have a vibrant dialogue between our audience and, of course, our hosts today and our panelists. So feel free to just switch that before you make any comments, requests, ask for any additional information, want something to, because there are people monitoring the room, and I want you to switch that to the attendee and panelist status, and we'll all be together. So let me get my panelists in right now, if I can. Can I get Josh and Evan on the program, please? You guys coming in?
We're right here.
We're right here.
Oh, all right, great. Josh, Evan, welcome. We're here to discuss something really interesting, which is AI. In our past here at E&P, we've done a lot of reporting on it lately. And as a matter of fact, and I didn't get it in time, we just put out another news headline about one media company that's now making AI illegal in a newsroom. It's getting crazy. But and we even made this our cover story back in, I hope you love that image I put together back in April, trying to define this crazy thing called AI, or using it within the news publishing environment, which is E&P's audience. So my question to you guys first is, treat me like I'm a 4-year-old, because I'm 67 and I, kicking and screaming, dropped cable only 5 years ago, if you know what I mean. But if you gentlemen could do me a favor, or at least, Josh, you kick off. What is AI, and why is it so important that we either embrace it, watch it, ignore it, or what have you in our news publishing environment?
That's a great question. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Brandau. I'm the CEO of Nota. With me is Evan Young. He's the COO. I'm from the publishing world before we started this company. So I was the CRO and the CMO of the Los Angeles Times and the San Diego Union Tribune. We can talk more about that origin story and why we started this company in a little bit. But to answer your question, Mike, AI has been around for decades. I think what we're really faced with now is a very usable, interactive way in which we can take this technology and catapult ourselves from a workflow perspective to new heights. And we can talk a lot about how that comes to be. I think the breakthroughs we've seen in large language models, which we can go more extensively into as we talk about where we get our data sets and how we utilize data in a transparent way. But really the breakthrough there, and I think the way in which the UX is constructed from a chat-like perspective with OpenAI has really opened the floodgates of possibility for the vast majority of us, seeing, this is possible when it seemed like science fiction 8 months, 2 years ago. So we're super excited to talk to you about how you can use AI from an assistive standpoint, not a generative standpoint. There's a huge difference. We think that you should be very cautious with AI. We think you should be skeptical of its use, but we do not think it's something you can put back in the box. It's the future. It's the now, actually, as well. So there's just really, it's like trying to put the internet back. It's not an option. So it's more of a question of how we use it.
You got ink in your veins, sir. You came from the news publishing industry and you left the Los Angeles Times. You and I first chatted about that because you were also chief revenue officer and chief marketing officer, correct, of the company?
Yes. Most of the business side that wasn't operations was under me.
But now you're suddenly a nerd building out platforms to help a newsroom. How did that happen? Was that always in your bloodstream? Did you watch your editorial teams doing bad stuff? I mean, here you are like me, a salesman. I mean, for 40 years, I've been selling media. What turned you into this thing? Just tell me what.
I always wanted to be a nerd, Mike. I think that's where we start. I always wanted to be a nerd. No, the opportunity really came about through a lot of work and analysis of our own industry. So I was brought in when Patrick Soon-Shiong made the purchase of the Los Angeles Times from Tribune, or Trunk at the time. And what that meant was shared services for a bit. And what that really meant was that a lot of people had to figure out how to bring in the best technologies possible to run the Los Angeles Times and the San Diego Union Tribune. That opportunity really was to meet with every vendor that existed under the sun, see what we could buy, see what we could beg, see what we could steal. And with our other co-founder, Ben Gerst, who was the CTO at the time at the Los Angeles Times and now is the CTO here, we realized that there's just not many true technology companies serving this industry anymore. And we really vowed that we would try to do our best to create tools that are accessible to the smallest possible newsroom in the smallest possible market, all the way up to the very largest. And I think we've seen a lot of success in doing so already.
Evan.
But why? We want to be the technology company for newspapers.
Evan, Josh comes from the news publishing background. You were a digital startup guy, am I correct? Just quickly let our audience know where you're coming from and why you're doing this.
Yeah, so prior to joining Nota, I had a prior career as a management consultant. And then after I did some management consulting, I got into the startup space. There's a unicorn company here based in Los Angeles called Service Titan that built tools for the trades. And so I was on the C-suite of that organization, helping them grow from a small organization to a very large organization. So essentially my background is in technology startups and helping them grow and scale. And so when Josh and I met one another and started talking about the opportunity to build some really cool technology for an underserved industry that we both felt passionately about, it just felt like the right time to take a risk and start to try to make a go of it with the technology that we started to see come available on the market.
If I ask a stupid question, you guys just know that it's because I'm maybe way beyond the new world. But what does SaaS mean? Just for
Absolutely.
me, okay? The rest of the audience knows that, but
Sure.
go ahead.
It stands for software as a service. So a lot of the tools that you may use today in your newsrooms, or even yourself, Mike, that you might pay a monthly subscription fee to leverage, that's what would be considered a SaaS company. So that's all we are. It's just a company building technology that you can license for a monthly fee. And that's kind of the definition of SaaS, usually cloud-based tools.
How long has this SaaS been in business now? And you've picked up some pretty cool marquee customers already. Tell me, Josh, back to you. Launch, how did it work? Sure. And who are you now? What is Nota?
Yeah, Nota was formed really in October, November of last year. So we're about a year old at this point. It was fortuitous, right? Just like anyone, if you place yourself in the right place at the right time, sometimes you get lucky. So we were working on a lot of machine learning technologies for our industry that accelerated our ability to talk to some folks within the super nerddom of Microsoft, if we want to go down to talk about it like that. They introduced us to a bunch of AI capabilities and really brought us into a lot of the tech stack there. So we very quickly understood the capabilities and how they would relate to our industry and started building applications for it. So it's been about a year of application building. We have a very deep relationship with Microsoft that allows us to do a lot of things that, frankly, a small startup could never really do on their own. So we have a lot of compute power, data scientists, cloud architects, all these people that are far smarter than certainly me, helping us really construct the ways in which we need to go to market and provide these tools to everyone here.
So let's let the rubber hit the road. I want one of you, I don't know who's going to do the sharing, to share your screen live on the internet. So go ahead and take over the share if you don't mind. And do me a real strong favor here. And this is something you're not ever supposed to do on, front of audiences, is go live on the internet. But okay, you're picking on me now. You're looking at the homepage of Editor and Publisher magazine. Let me just, that's okay. So you're looking at a story page. This story went wild this week. Joey Young, if any of you guys in the audience have heard of him, from the Kansas Publishing Venture, sent me an email saying, I'm consulting the 16-year-old kid in a news desert, ghost paper market of Hutchinson, Kansas, who's frustrated that the stories on the website, there's like only one local story a day. They even put the wrong picture on the front page of the paper last year in Hutchinson, Minnesota, because everything's, their teams are out of state now. And then editorial teams are working multiple papers, having trouble keeping track. And Hutchinson is a town of 40,000. So I interviewed this 16-year-old kid. It's going nuts. And his name is Michael Glenn. And this is the physical story. Now, once a week, and I'm trying to bore our audience, once a week I write an actual editorial piece for E&P, because once I interview the subject, rather than assign an editor to go watch the interview before we edit it, I write it and send it to editorial, and then they just eviscerate it. They destroy it, because I'm not a writer, I'm a sales guy. And they make suggestions on the headline and all that and more. So your tool now is going to show me how bad I am and my editorial team, Josh. Am I correct or what?
Well, no, it's just gonna. I watched that video and read that story. It's pretty compelling. How great of a job him and his very small team, the staff that he has, and how much they're putting out in the marketplace. It's very hope driving, right? They're tripling, quadrupling the amount of coverage that the ghost paper in their hometown is providing for 40,000 people. I think he said that over 1,000 people are clicking on some of these stories. That was 3 weeks ago. Oh,
now he's
getting,
yeah, I mean,
they're getting to a very large subsection of the town. So that's pretty cool.
All right. So let's see. You're going to now analyze. Anybody can do this once they have this software. They can simply just instantly start doing this. So show me what this means. You got words like some, brief, bid, image. Go ahead and take over. Josh?
Evan?
Oh, Evan, go ahead.
Evan, you're on mute, man.
Right now, we have a suite of tools that you can access via our website as a customer. We also have a WordPress plugin that actually works directly within the CMS. What we'll show you right now is how you can access our tools through the dashboard. So as we were discussing, there are about 6 different tools you can leverage, from summary tools to brief tools to video tools, image, letter, and social. We can kind of run you through some of those pretty quickly. But as Mike was mentioning, we can take this article that he developed for this kid out in Hutchinson and start to analyze the article and provide you with some suggestions that can actually improve the article's discovery based on best practices.
Now, wait a second. This didn't have to be embedded in my CMS. This didn't have to be an add-on to our Word doc. You simply put the URL of what we created finally through my editorial team and published on our website. You simply put that there and it takes over. Is that how this works, Evan?
That is correct. You could also just paste the copy that your draft into our tool, into that text box. So I use the URL, but you could actually just take the raw text that you wrote up in the Word doc, put it in our article analyzer as well, and get all the same features that you see right here. So we would then take your article and say, hey, these are probably some headlines you should consider if you want to get some discovery from an SEO perspective. We also give you a high-level article summary that you can leverage for this particular article. We give you key points. We give you pull quotes. We give you different categories you can think about in terms of how you want to structure that in your content management system. Additionally, we have an SEO tab that allows you to create good page titles for discovery on Google search. And we even help you with the web link that you can leverage for your particular article to get discovery that way. A meta description that allows folks to read what this article is about at a high level on Google search, and then some keywords you can use as well. And
I just went through, let me just go back to that if you want. I just went through we have an amazingly talented tech guy on our team now, Guy Tasaka. You may or may not know him. He was on the board of LMA for a while. Oh, I see thumbs up from Josh. Guy took me through an exercise on SEO. If you don't know this, your page title is everything. Am I correct, Evan? I mean, especially on a news site. When I did my due diligence on E&P before I took it over, we had amazing Google authority. If I put a story up on E&P, it's #1 on Google News within 3 minutes. That's how much, because AP links to me, the Harvard link, everybody, I have all those cool, I call link juice coming into me. That's how I do it. And then the title is the first thing that Google doesn't have time to skim the whole article. Am I correct, Evan? It's that critical title. It's also looking at the URL first. So when you come up with those slugs, you call them, that's critical as well, because my CMS just grabs them from the title. This is using AI or best practices to give me the best ways to be found. Do I have that right, Evan?
Exactly. And you want to make sure that your slug has keywords in it that are going to be helpful for search terms as well. So yeah, everything that you just said is absolutely correct. And this is absolutely critical for our customers to get more engagement on site. And we're seeing some really amazing results with our current publishers who are using this tool. It's driving anywhere from 7 up to 70% page view increases across the board. And so we're very excited about that.
All right, go on.
Like
Now,
that's real. That's 7% is the lowest page view increases we've seen from any of our partners.
well, most news, I've analyzed hundreds and hundreds of newspapers in my consulting career and news media sites. Most of the entries through a Google search, somebody types in the name of the high school football coach, right? Because they knew there was a game last night, or they heard that the mayor got caught with a young girl in something, and they type that in. Who comes up first is critical to get that page view and then build that on, especially now in a world where you're trying to sell audience, membership. You want to show that you're there covering these stories. So this is critical. Now, of course, I see another tab there, social, another critical entry into our, which long story, because Canada now is in a battle with Google and Meta because it's so critical. But let's move on. You now took my story and you made proper suggestions for the text. This is amazing.
Yeah, so what we really wanted to do, and one of the things that Josh saw at the LA Times was, being able to come up with creative copy that gets more engagement across social media for these different stories is a very challenging and time, consuming task for a very small team. And so if we can provide you with the tool that gives you a starting point in terms of how to think about this particular article for these particular social media outlets with best practices, again, built in terms of tone, length, use of hashtag, use of emojis, all of those things are taken into account here. And we just want to give you a starting point to think about how you can actually talk about this article in ways that drive more engagement on channels outside of your actual website, but then can drive traffic back to your website.
If any of our attendees want to get more meat on the bone when it comes to this, the chat room's wide open. Josh, Evan, you've got someone in there to answer questions, right? So if you want to ask how this works or ways that you can still use it, but keep your eyes on it, right? Josh, you don't want to just do this dynamically. You want to read it once first, correct? You'd still want a human element.
Oh, yeah. So I think we had a question with someone who signed up about how we can properly use AI, but still be skeptical of, the power it may potentially have over us. And every tool that you see here is completely editable. It's not something that automatically is published. We intend it to be a very like a leg up or a lead in the race, if you will. So this just saves you, we're seeing up to, 70, 80, 90% of the time it would take to be putting this article on all these social platforms. But we certainly want you to take that 10% of the time and go through it, make sure it's in your tone of voice, make sure it's properly formatted for what you want to express, and make sure that it's, it's above board. We will say that the way in which we've constructed our business means that hallucinations, as they call them within AI, which, in making up stuff is extremely, extremely rare because we're pulling from the article itself and the corpus of information within that article, as opposed to the wider world. So it's not pulling in data from, Wikipedia or Reddit or something else to try to make this up. It's really just pulling from the article and reconstructing it in a way in which it's best practices for each of those platforms. So while it may not be formatted in the right way or have a different tone than you would really ideally want, it should be very close to what you'd want to publish in general.
Let's not use me anymore. I mean, I love it when you're helping me. Let's go to a real. When I say that, I mean, I am a niche media B2B publication, which means I'm almost upside down from a regular news publisher. I'm 70% desktop. My audience is massively Monday through Friday, 6A to 8P. And most of my traffic's on my homepage. Did you know? Which is crazy, but it's because everybody bookmarks it and goes there daily to see a quick skim of the latest headlines. Most other correct me if I'm wrong, and you know this, Josh, most news publishers are opposite, right? They're mostly mobile. Their entry comes a lot from social and search, correct? So give me one of your clients. Who do you got? Someone that we all know maybe? And let's look at a news.
So one of the clients that we've been working with are the Afro. And so we can show you some examples of an article that they recently published. And we can use a couple of our different tools to kind of give you a flavor of what else is possible with Nota. So our brief tool works very similarly. We can pull in that article content, leveraging that link, simply hit generate. And this tool is meant to just provide you with a high-level snapshot of what the article is about. And we've seen this used both in print for like when there's space needed that they want to fill on the print publication, but also this is kind of a teaser of what the article is about. And we've seen this leveraged across social as well. So what we do with this tool is we give you a couple of headline suggestions that you can obviously select from. Again, everything is completely editable. We give you the summary, then we'll give you some key points, and everything that you see built out here on the right rail, you can just copy once you think it's in a good place, and then you can take that and paste it wherever you like to basically give your reader an overview of what that particular article is about.
Well, you can send it off to the designer who's putting together the print product.
Exactly.
You've taken the web and you put, this is amazing. The article summary, we call that the lead at EMP. Obviously it could be whatever, but that's critical for us because they're all over the place on my homepage and I need to entice someone to click in. So is the same engagement metrics being used there as well, guys?
Yeah.
When you write that summary, it's all about getting someone to enter into the article, correct? And read it as deep as they can.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we also just recognize user behavior these days. Not a ton of users are reading articles 100% of the way down. And so we thought, why not provide a tool that gives you all of the most relevant information in a quick snapshot? And if you do want to read the entire article based on this snapshot, great. Like that's going to be your feeder into getting more engagement. But it also just provides you with what you need to know so you can have a, very good idea of what this article is about, even if you don't choose to read the entire thing. So we wanted to, it can be used both ways.
All right, take me into the vid, because all I hear about now is short form video.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So again, using that same article, what we actually can do is pull in the images from that article to include into our video project. So let's say we want to grab these 3 images from that particular article. We want to say we use those. We have about 10 different templates you can choose from to build your video out. You can take it anywhere from 6 seconds to 3 minutes. For the sake of this demo, we'll keep it pretty short at 15 seconds. Multiple aspect ratios for the different social channels you might want to push this to. We even have audio that you can add to it that's AI generated. And then finally, we can grab your, let's see where the Afro is. We can grab your brand settings so that they can come in and be a part of the template that we leverage. So simply hit generate here. And now what's going to happen is going to pull in those article images. It's going to bring some copy in that kind of brings that key point from that particular article. And then you can see each one of these different images were created for that particular article with some, critical information that helps users understand what that particular article is about. You can edit everything from the background color to the image color overlay to the text color. And you can even change the photos out if you like. So let's say this first one is cool, but we want to go with this one instead. There's multiple ways you can edit this. You can add additional images from your machine, from stock image libraries. The opportunities are very vast. And then let's say you're good, you like how it looks, you want to see what the preview looks like. Let me just share our sound with you really quick so you can hear it. And here's how the preview goes.
But the sound is kind of irrelevant because in most posts that you do, the sound's off, but that would be spinning on LinkedIn, or actually from that shape. That shape is perfect for TikTok, right? Or
yeah, so I chose a vertical option, but there's also, you can actually change depending on which output you want to go to, you can decide which aspect ratio you choose. And what we're seeing with our publishers that are using this tool is they're saving anywhere from 70 to 80% to produce these short form videos that they're then using for TikTok, for Instagram stories and reels. And they're using that native functionality within Instagram to link back to the article. And they're seeing, no dips in engagement from leveraging our tools as well. And they're actually increasing their production of videos across these platforms because of the time savings. As you can see how simple that was to create. It literally took us 3 minutes to generate that short form video that you ultimately download as an MP4, and then you can publish it to whatever social channel you deem necessary.
And it doesn't give you, it gives you the MP4, then you just post it on your own to LinkedIn or Twitter, X. I have to use the proper name. And then you just put the URL of the story in order to gain that engagement, correct? And build that.
Correct.
Up.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And the future vision for this tool is to actually integrate directly with those social platforms, so you don't have to download and then take it, independently. We want to just be able to push that directly to those social platforms seamlessly. And that's part of the product roadmap that we're working on right now. So that should be developed in the coming months.
All right. So what else does this thing do?
Yeah, so I'll show you just a few more quick tools. This one's very similar to the tool you just saw for video. We'll just do one. This is an image creator that allows you to create branded imagery that you can then leverage for again, purposes like social. So let's say we want to do something on Instagram. We'll go one by one. Let me just grab the afro here, and then we'll hit generate. And basically, this just allows you to create a branded PNG asset that you might want to leverage for a social post to kind of give readers an overview of what this particular article is about. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we now have the logo of the afro that you can include, and you can dictate the alignment of that based on what makes sense for this particular photo. And then you can also change the opacity as well if you wanted to make it a little bit less obvious. So yeah, this was something that just came from our beta customers asking if we could create a tool like this. We put it on our roadmap, and our team was able to push it out within a couple of sprints. And so we've seen this used quite a bit across social. We're getting examples from our partners on a daily basis on how they're leveraging this tool out in the world in social.
Why the heck, Josh, is there so much buzz now about AI being some scary thing that's going to get us all in trouble the next 10 years? Because I don't see anything here. And maybe it's just me, because I'm not, I come from the business side, not the, I'm not a Pulitzer Prize wishing editorial person with the AP style book next to the bed. But what's going on? Why is this bad? Because you're still able to read it first, right? There's still a human element. You just saved me, I would say, at least 45 minutes of work.
There's ways in which you can utilize this technology for evil, right? So, our biggest fear is that there's a lot of ways in which you can utilize tools like this that generate everything. So we're seeing tests of that from a bunch of actors in the space. We don't believe in that. We think that a human needs to always be, as I say, in the loop and editing this and looking it over and approving it before anything gets published in the world. But certainly there's a lot of tools that exist, mostly created for marketing groups, advertising agencies, that allowed it to generate in bulk without a human kind of interacting. And we feel as if that's pretty dangerous. So that leads to misinformation, that leads to a lot of error, that leads to a lot of, frankly, a lot of distrust or mistrust from the general public when they read this stuff. So that's why we created tools that are very specific in this way, that you need to have a hand in. Your expertise is not just desirable, it's necessary to make sure that this is published. So that's where we stand. We're very adamant about it. I can talk, I think there's some questions coming in terms of how, how we train our AI. We can talk very extensively about that.
Sure.
We think about that very deeply.
Go ahead, address some of the questions, please do.
I think that just to have a conversation about it, frankly, OpenAI has had the best success for creating a model for the vast majority of use cases so far. There's certainly some others that have caught up. What we wanted to do, because we saw this very early, was create as they say, a large language model solely based on non-copyrightable material. And if it was copyrightable material, it was from our own partners that we signed an agreement with. So everything that is trained our models is rights use, all high-end quality content. And that has accelerated the ability for us to have a model that competes with an OpenAI model or an Anthropic model or a Llama model, whatever you want to talk about, because it's trained on your content with your permission, frankly. So a lot of our beta partners have allowed us access to their content libraries. We've graded that in a back office kind of way to make sure that it's as high quality as possible. And that has allowed us to compete in this space from a underlying AI perspective.
What other bells and whistles does this perform? What are we missing here now?
Yeah, so I'll let Josh give the intro to the newsletter tool because it's his favorite tool out of the bunch. I know you're not supposed to pick favorites, but Josh, you want to kind of talk about the genesis of why this was so important for us to build?
Yeah, let's get to the Q&A real quick before that,
okay.
Because I'm obsessed with newsletter and I'll talk about it too much. So the status of AI generated copy in terms of being copyrighted, great question. So because what we have is just assistive and that you need to get in there, you as a journalist or you as an editor or you as an audience team member, that's yours. So it's still copyrightable. It's not generated net based on an AI system. It's AI utilizing an article or content that you've already created and making some adjustments to that and recommendations that you can then go in and edit again. So as far as copyright is concerned, that's defensible. So that's all yours. It's not AI. Net generated AI copy we've seen coming down from the courts right now is not copyrightable. That's what the latest ruling has been. We don't know if that's going to stay, but that's where it's at. So if you were to use these tools and never touch anything, even then, because it's based on the content that you've already created, it's defensible as far as we understand it. But we're watching the space as it all develops. I think over the next few years, it's going to be fascinating because the courts and government have to catch up with what we're doing in technology. And then we'll talk about costs at the end. But one of the big things we wanted to do with Mike was make sure that you had a really good deal. So we wanted to provide you an end of the year deal with a few caveats. One would be this is the end of our beta. So we hope to go out of beta in the beginning of the next year. So the biggest thing that we're looking for here is your feedback. So you would have to commit to give us feedback on what's working, what doesn't work, what ideas you would have for us. We want free ideas from you, basically. And then how do you use this and, what success you're seeing in the market? That's one of the caveats. And then we wanted to also make sure that we made this extremely accessible. We got in this business to make a lot of money, but certainly not make a lot of money in the legacy media space. In other spaces, we'll make a lot of money. This is our mission. This is our passion. This is our belief that these tools can help accelerate your workflows. And we think that matters for democracy pretty substantially. So we want to provide you with tools.
Yeah, well said. Go ahead.
We want to combat news deserts. We want to combat ghost papers. We want to say, hey, you can use these tools and you can really compete. You can really show value to your communities. That's the whole goal of what we're trying to do here. So in order to do that, we have to make it accessible enough for you to afford it. So it's hundreds of dollars a month at this point. It's very low cost. And if we're really transparent, it's compute power will get cheaper and cheaper, but it's still extraordinarily expensive right now. So we're making almost no money on this part of the world because we just believe in it. And there's just a lot of things in which we want to see succeed utilizing these tools. So we're happy to talk to you at the end of this about, the deal that we have for you.
Thank you. And I couldn't be better said. I love that when we did the write-up of the webinar, my favorite line in there is it would free up time. And we'll talk about the time savings. You did a recent study in Q4 that I want to get to in a moment, but I still want to go over functionality. But it free up time to do what we should be doing, which is reporting, correct? I mean, that's what it's all about. Every single successful media company that we interview, the ones that are making it, that are building audience and building revenue, have great reporting, right? It all starts there. So this frees up your newsroom time. That's what I see.
Yes. That's the frustration, even at the LA Times, everyone faced, right? Journalists are expected to do way too much. They shouldn't have to figure out SEO optimization or meta tagging structures. They shouldn't have to spend, hours trying to get a video of their article created. They shouldn't have to spend hours and hours every day creating a newsletter, which is the next, that was my big segue. This is the thing that I literally created this company for. I had an audience team of 2 people at the Los Angeles Times. I had a Salesforce data set that showed me 20 very large subsegments of my user base, right? So I know this one just wants opinion in government affairs. They don't want to read anything else or engage with anything else. This one just wants hiking and new restaurant openings. And there's 19, 18 other one of those subsegments. But I only have 2 people that can create newsletters that are of value. So I can't really serve each individual in my community as well as I would like to serve them. So what if you could create a newsletter in a minute as opposed to an hour based on the content that you have already? What if you could serve those almost automatically? So you just go in and you functionally collect all the articles that you want for whatever you want to do. Maybe it's a sports newsletter. Maybe it's the top 5 articles of the day or week. Maybe it's anything that you can think of. You can go to them. There's a browser extension that Evan's going to show you and construct a newsletter that can go out in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on how much editing you need to do. But it changes.
This is a browser extension. You haven't built anything to work with a content management system, correct? You're building the newsletter after the stories are online, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct. Our content management system is just for WordPress Newspack specifically. So if you're on this and you're a Newspack client, we also have a very good deal for you. We just announced that yesterday. So we're happy to talk to you as well. But yes, this is a browser extension. This is meant for anyone with just no infrastructure needs whatsoever, Mike. It's just, you just download it in your browser, and then Evan will show you how you can make a newsletter in a minute.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, simply just go to the articles you want to include in your newsletter. You click on our browser extension up there in the top right-hand corner. You grab the hero image for that article that you want to include in the newsletter. Hit save article. You see it saved. And I will just do the same thing for the additional articles that I want to include in this particular newsletter. So within a few moments and a few clicks, I have now added 5 articles to this newsletter.
I see 6 at the top now.
Let's see.
So saved articles, 6 of 10.
Yeah. Okay. So we have our saved articles. So you can see what you actually created. You can actually come in here and edit the image if you like. So let's say you wanted to use that image instead, you can update it. But let's say you have all the articles you want, you just simply hit go to letter. And then what's going to happen now is we're going to build a draft newsletter for you. Literally, we will provide you with, again, an SEO optimized headline. We'll give you a summary of that article. And you can actually dictate the length of your summary. So if you want to just make it a little bit shorter, we can go to a 2-sentence summary, and that will flow through to all of the different articles that we've just added. And now you see we have every article that I selected, and we can then even generate an opening kind of paragraph that summarizes all of these articles together. Go over to preview mode, and now you can see what this will look like in somebody's inbox. And that literally took us 3 minutes to create. And all we have to do is export it, and we can copy it to the clipboard. We can copy HTML that you can drop into your ESP, your email service provider. If you have a template that you've already set up for your existing newsletter, you can just put that HTML block in there, and it will automatically just flow through. All the articles will be hyperlinked back to site, as well as the images that you see in those articles be hyperlinked back to site. So really, we're just trying to create a mechanism for you to create more newsletters, to serve more subsegments, to actually provide you more opportunities for advertising revenue in those newsletters as well. So we want to create engagement, but we also want to help you drive more revenue back to your organization.
Question, what if during the process of building it, what if I wanted to change the order of the stories?
Yeah.
Was there a place in there I could do that?
No, absolutely. So let's see.
Because that's one of the things we do at the last minute when we're reviewing our newsletters. There's always an argument of which one should lead and which headline should lead in the subject line.
Yeah. So you can just kind of drag and drop them as you see fit.
It's so critical. I mean, that you really want to have a newsletter that's opened. Did I say that? I know it sounds so basic, but God forbid if you're not looking at your open rates when you're putting out news. So you got to figure out which ones you lead with, right? You don't just say in the subject line, Josh and Evan, you don't say in the subject line, here's our news for today. You try to tease that open with a good story, don't you? And other stories, click here or something like that. That's what we do at EMP. And it
Absolutely.
does work. And we analyze which ones get open. And we have arguments about it. Me and Cindy, who we work with America's newspapers in a very popular 12 noon newsletter, arguments, but I say, why isn't this the lead? And she'll say, this should be the lead. We have a little discussion about it, but then we switch it quick and make a final decision 15 minutes before the send. This makes it easy, right? And you can share, and anyone can work on this collaboratively if they want to and make decisions. I love the HTML output. I noticed you had a MailChimp, nothing for Constant Contact yet?
Not yet, but we're actually looking. So again, as a beta partner, we want to understand who you're using as your email service provider, and we want to make sure that we can integrate pretty seamlessly with that tool. And so we just launched this tool about 3 weeks ago. It's very brand new. We have a slew of updates that we'll be making to it over the course of the next month or so to continue to improve it. We also want to be able to plug into your site analytics to understand what's actually performing well on your site. So we can take that data and automatically generate a newsletter for you for the highest performing articles on your site as well, and actually give you the opportunity to create user-defined kind of drafts that we can auto generate for you as well. So those are some of the pretty cool features that we have coming down the pike here in the near future with our newsletter tool.
Full disclosure, we're going to start using this tool at ENP. We will, and this works for us, and I'll tell you guys why. We boil everything down to HTML. We can push directly from our CMS into our email send program, which I think is ActiveCampaign, if you've heard of them. But we do the HTML first because we tweak it a little. Does that make sense? We do a final. You're generating that final HTML for me of the perfect news content. You've made it grammatically correct. You've made it also SEO friendly. And then we can just go in and do our final magic. This is brilliant. I mean, this is great. All right. Yeah. So now let's maybe I should put up some metric. Let me have this, unless you guys want to demo more. You all done with the demo? You all set?
No, that's the meat and potatoes. Again, we do have an WordPress integration, but so if any of the folks on the phone do have WordPress, we're happy to meet with you. After this call and set up a demo, we can show you how that operates as well. But it's built right into the CMS where you just click a button and you get all the same recommendations that you just saw for our summary tool as your pre-publish, in the pre-publish phase of developing the story in your CMS.
We're getting near the end of our journey together. So if anyone wants to ask a question in chat or Q&A, please ask them now, and we'll answer them for you before we close this puppy. But you did a Q4 case. See, I love this. You actually measured time savings and productivity and increased engagement. Do I have that right, Josh? This was your mission.
You do. Yes, absolutely. And we're working with more and more partners every day to, expand our white papers and our results to just keep getting better and better. But really, the time to publish content, that's a pretty low number for us. As you can see, if you really get into the tools and really understand how to use them, you can create, you can publish your content in minutes. So it's, 48% is an amazing time saving for you. Half your time is back to you to do what you do best, which is reporting. We're seeing an increase in production value because of that, but also we're hoping the rest of that delta between those two numbers goes to, going out and reporting. That's the dream. And then the page view increases, as anyone who's obsessed with page view increases as the best metric for almost everything that you're looking to do with your publication. Whether that's, keep subscribers, gain subscribers, get advertisers, get interest in a story, tell a better story. Page views matter, right? Like they're a pretty solid indicator. And if we can
they're your inventory too. It's what you sell. So more page views,
exactly.
You're making
more everything.
Right? Yeah, right.
And if you can get, 1% or 2%, that's a significant amount of page view increases across most tools that I've seen and utilized in my career. So 40% is just absolutely astronomical in terms of what we're doing. But it makes sense, right? Because we're taking what you're creating and we're optimizing it for the internet. So it'll have better organic domain authority, to Mike's point earlier. which is super, super meaningful. And it really provides you with a succinct way in which you can tell the story. And it just seems that more people are reading more things. So we're extremely excited about this latest kind of data.
Now, here you go. You break down some of the, I know The Voice, and I know the Observer. I know all these people. This is, okay, so you really showed us 70. What made the Atlanta Voice stick out? Did you have the right geek in the newsroom that just got this, or what? How did it?
Yeah, I think this one particularly, they had an outlier month that was pretty large. I'm not sure what was going on in Atlanta. I think in August that drove a lot of traffic to their site. But even without that outlier, they were still seeing extremely significant gains from when they started using Nota to before Nota. So essentially what we did, we just looked at page view averages monthly from the start of this year through today. We looked at the months that they were using us to optimize their articles, and we looked at the months they weren't, and we took that delta, and this is what you're seeing on the screen. So really strong positive results. And Atlanta Voice is one of our first customers on beta. We essentially launched in June of this year with our beta customers. And so I'm really excited to see, them seeing some real benefit from using our tools and getting more traffic to site, which we hope is allowing them to generate more revenue. As you mentioned, Mike, this is kind of the inventory that, drives the underlying business.
Totally. Let's talk about what you're offering here. Okay, by the way, EP at Hey Nota. EP, I assume that's editor and publisher. You don't have a guy on this team named EP.
That is specifically for the folks on this call, so we can make sure we know that you're coming from this webinar. So
if anyone wants to email EP to Hey Nota, you can take advantage. Now, what is the offer? It says 20% discount. Oh, you guys describe it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're coming out of beta at the end of this year. So prices will go up because we're going to have a general market product. So part of this deal, the 3X is really, you have to give us feedback and ideas. That's what we really need right now. So we'd really appreciate that. And, in general, that's very valuable to us. So we waive all the fees to sign up, all the things that you are annoyed by that every vendor does and tries to get across with on you. We waive all that. We'll sign up everybody. We'll create a Slack channel with your team. We'll make sure that this is a success, just like what you've seen us have with everybody else. And we'll give you 20% discount. So we'll give you the lowest possible price we can give you, which is less than $300 a month.
All right.
So
I'm Michael Glenn. I'm running a newspaper in Hutchinson, Kansas. There's only like 3 or 4 there full-time employees, but he has 7, 8, 9 adults working as stringers that work exclusively for him. That's a small operation, page views. But they're doing well. What would the price be for Michael with the 20% off? I want to give an idea. Is that okay if I ask you, or ballpark it, Josh?
$280.
All right,
$280.
$208 He has to sign a long-term contract. Is he locked in forever?
Nope, not locked in forever. We need a year contract, but it's a 30-day out. So
you basically give a month. If you're not happy in 30 days, you're out, right?
Yeah, anytime you're not happy, give us 30 days to try to fix we're in beta. So give us 30 days to try to figure out what's not working. And then if you don't like it, you're out. So very, very low risk.
So Michael could lock in $280 a month for a full year. His only commitment to you is that once a month, he's got to give you a couple sentences of feedback, suggestions on how you might even set up a quick call with him and say, tell me what's working and not working.
That's right.
This looked real easy to me, and I'm not an editor and I'm not a nerd. I'm a sales guy, and I'm proud of saying that. But how much training do you need to get started on this? Looks like very little.
Yeah, we can onboard you in about an hour, maybe a little bit more, depending on the complexity of your workflows. But we can hop on a Zoom and get you up and running in an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. We've got a pretty robust knowledge base as well. So essentially any and all elements of the tool that you can use, we have a help article to kind of walk you through how to leverage that. Once you log in and you're a part of the beta program, you'll get a trickle email that basically explains all of our tools in more detail on a daily basis after you launch, just to reinforce the training that we gave you upon launch. We have a dedicated customer success manager who can meet with you if you have any questions or concerns. And we also can operate, through Slack. If you want to have an opportunity to chat with us directly, we can make ourselves available. So our goal is to really learn as much as we can about your existing workflows, how these tools are plugging in and working for you and how they're not. And then we'll, take that feedback, we'll get it added to our product roadmap and then improve the product for the future. So that's,
And I mean, you basically can start immediately. There's
absolutely.
Which is so odd.
This week.
There's so few tools today. It's always like, well, we'll put you on the, we'll put you on the list. This is great. All right. Once again, the product is Nota. It's out of LA, and it's the birth child of Josh here, along with Evan's help and the rest of the Nota team. And it's basically using AI to save you time so your newsroom can do what it does best, which is do news. I mean, what else can I say, Josh? That's pretty much it, right?
That's it. It's dead simple. No infrastructure, to your point. No real big training. No big tool set. No big commitment. I mean, it's just as easy. We want to make this as easy as possible for you to use literally the best technology that exists.
The email address is ep@heynota.com. Gentlemen, thanks for your valuable time. We appreciate it. We appreciate our audience's time, and feel free, please, if you registered for this, you're going to get a link to the recording in about 2 hours. Feel free to share it with anyone else you know that might benefit from a tool like this. Gentlemen, have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for
Thanks,
everyone's time.
Mike. Thanks everybody who joined.